Most people think that they just don't make enough money, but the truth here is that it is not always an income problem. It is a money management problem. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to budget smarter using my financial freedom budget template. And to make it real, we're going to be budgeting for a couple named Mary and Michael, who bring in about $6,000 every single month. And by the end of this video, you should see how to take control of your money month by month and get a big picture snapshot of what your year is going to look like. So, meet Mary and Michael. Here is their situation. Mary makes $1,800 every 2 weeks. That's $3,600 every single month. She also has a $300 pet sitting gig that she does. Michael makes $1,000 every 2 weeks, which is $2,000 every month. He also has $100 from freelancing as well. So together, that's about $6,000 every single month for them. That's not bad, but like most couples, without a plan, that money just disappears. So let's go ahead and plug it into the financial freedom budget template. So Mary and Michael just got their budget templates and they want to start budgeting. They're going to start over in the instructions tab and read through them before they get started with this budget template. The first thing they're going to notice is, for example, the first step says that they should go to click on these 3 lines to see how to unhide tabs. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's say, for example, we want to unhide a certain tab that is currently hidden. What we're going to do is click on these 3 lines and find the tab that's gray and click on it. It will automatically open over here. For example, May has then opened. They can now do their budget for May. If they want to do their budget for December, they have to just click on these 3 lines, go ahead and find the month of December and click on it, and it goes ahead and opens up. If they think they have too many tabs down here, they can go ahead and hide certain tabs. So let's say, for example, they don't want to deal with March right now because they haven't gotten there yet. They can just right click and go ahead and hide that sheet. Now that sheet is out of the way. Let's go ahead and do December as well. All right, so that is how you hide and unhide sheets in this budget template. Next, we're going to move on to the Start Year tab. Over at the Start Year tab is where Mary and Michael are going to start with their budgeting. As you can see, certain tabs are color-coded and some are not. Based on the instructions in the instruction tab, it tells you that you should not be messing with any tab that is color-coded unless you want to override the formulas that are already built in. For example, if you click on this left to spend cell, as you can see, it has built-in formulas over here at your top left corner that shows you that they're built-in formulas that are calculating information from different cells. So anything that is color-coded has built-in formulas already, and you shouldn't mess with it unless you want to override those formulas. Now let's move on to the next section here, which is the income section. This is where Mary and Michael are going to start once they get their hands on this budget template. The first question they're going to ask themselves is, how much do we think we're going to be making a month every single month? This number doesn't have to be accurate, but it could be an average of what they think they're going to make. They might have some months where they pick up extra side hustles, and instead of making $6,000, they might make $7,000. Or instead of making 6, they might not pick up any side hustles because maybe somebody fell ill, or maybe they just didn't have time to pick side hustles up that month. Their income might be less. It might be $5,000 one month, $6,000 another, or even $7,000. So here they're going to put in what they anticipate to make every single month. They've already done that here, as you could see, and they think they're going to make around $6,050 every single month. Now, let's move on to the debt section here. In the debt section, as you can see, Michael and Mary anticipate that they're going to be spending around $2,037 in this debt category. They've already gone ahead and put in what they think they're going to spend in their mortgage, car loan, student loans, and credit card payments. Now let's move on to their savings section. They've already gone ahead and put what they want to save or what they anticipate that they're going to save for the entire year every single month. So far, they've done vacation, emergency fund, and new bike, as well as down payments for a new car for Mary. They put $100 for vacation, $50 for emergency, $250 for a new bike, and $50 for down payment for a new car for Mary. Now, we're going to move on to the very last section that they have to worry about in the Start Year tab, and that is going to be the expense section over here. So far, Mary and Michael have already put in 5 different transactions that they think they're going to be spending. And we're just going to deal with these 5 for now so as to not overcomplicate it and make this video too long. So far, we're going to focus on groceries, gas, utility, fund money, and subscriptions. They've gone ahead and put what they think that's going to be. For groceries, they say it's going to be a need. They can always change it here if they want to, right? For example, they say fund money is going to be a want. If you think having fun is extremely important to you and you decide you're never, ever, ever going to cut that off, you could just click on this and change it to a need, or click and change it. Where's fund money? Fund money. You can always click on this and change it to a want or change it to a need. You can do that using this drop down right here. But for Mary and Michael, they've decided that having fun or putting aside money to have fun is a want, and they can always decide not to do that or decide to cut back on this particular category. Now, they've gone ahead and put what they anticipate they're going to spend on groceries, gas, utility, fund money, and subscriptions as well. So that is it for the Start Here tab. Now we're going to move on to January and budget Mary and Michael's paycheck. Let's assume that we're currently in the month of January and Mary and Michael are starting afresh with a brand new budget. So we're going to click on the January tab, and this is going to give us Mary and Michael's budget for January. Let's go ahead and start all the way at the top. Here you can see in this category, it is already color coded, meaning you should not mess with it. Information over here will be populated based on what Mary and Michael put in different sections. So as we can see, Mary has already gone in and put what they estimated to make in the month of January and what they actually made in the month of January as far as their income is concerned. Now, when we move over to their debt, Mary has already estimated what she thinks they're going to spend on debt, and now nothing is populated in the actual section because we haven't categorized their transactions yet. Once we categorize their transactions, this information will automatically populate. As you can see, there are built-in formulas up here for that already. So let's move on to their savings section. Over in the savings section, Mary has put in what she estimates they're going to save. Again, nothing has been populated yet because we haven't categorized their transactions as well. Once we categorize their transactions, everything in the actual section, if the information has been put in, is going to automatically populate here. So now let's move on to our right hand side and show you their expense section. Everything here is color coded because everything here has built-in formulas that are pulling through from different tabs. The actual section, again, is not categorized, but it is going to be categorized soon once we go ahead and categorize their transactions. So let's go all the way to the bottom in the transaction section and categorize Mary and Michael's transaction for the month of January. So far, it is the first week of January, and Mary is doing their budget for the week, right? She's going to do their budget every single Friday so that she doesn't have to categorize a bunch of transactions just once every month, which is what I recommend. I recommend that you do your budget every single Friday or once every single week. If you have a lot of transactions and you have more than 20 transactions hitting your bank account a week, I would suggest that you do it even twice a week. That way you're not overwhelmed when you sit down to actually do your budget. Okay, let's get right back into it. So now that we've done with the expense section, we're going to scroll all the way down and talk about the transaction tracker. This is where Mary and Michael are going to categorize their transactions. Mary has already downloaded her bank statement. She has downloaded the CSV file, which opens in either Excel or Google Sheets. So let me go ahead and show you what that looks like for Mary and Michael. So here is their downloaded sheet. As you can see, it has dates, the amount of money, the type of debit or credit, as well as the description of the transaction. What we're going to start by doing is copying these dates. This is going to make our life easy, and that is why I recommend you open this as either an Excel or Google Sheets. I'm talking about these bank statements. Open your bank statements as either an Excel or Google Sheet. That way you can just copy and paste it in instead of doing it manually, especially if you have a lot of transactions to deal with. So we're going to go ahead and just copy all these dates. And then we're going to go back to our budget sheet and paste them. So over here where it says date, we're going to just go and paste these as a value, and then go back to our transaction sheet and find the next part, which is our description. So let's head back over there. So over on our bank statement, we're going to copy these transaction descriptions. And then we're going to head back to our budget template and paste them in as values. Once we've done that, we're going to go back to our budget sheet and we're going to copy and paste the amount of money as well. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so now that we've done that for the entire week for Mary and Michael, we're going to go ahead and categorize these. So, for example, the first one that says ABC Bank, Mary knows that this is their mortgage that they paid for $1,500. So she's going to click on this drop down in the category section and select mortgage. Once she does that, it automatically categorizes this as debt. And that is why this particular column is color coded, because it has built-in formulas that tell her if this is a debt based on what has already been categorized in the section above. So let's go ahead and do another transaction for this couple. The next one is Pay My Car Bank. This is for their car loan. So we're going to go ahead and categorize that as car loan. The next transaction is Sally Mae. This is a student loan for Mary. So we're going to go ahead and select student loan for that. I'm going to go ahead and categorize the rest of these transactions, and then we can move on. Now we're going to move up, and I'm going to show you what I was talking about earlier. So over here in the debt section, you could see that based on the information they entered in the transaction tracker below, it has automatically populated the actual amounts that they spent on their debt. They anticipated that they would spend $300 for student loans, but so far they've only spent $200. It seems like they did not check to see what those amounts were. So now they can go back to the Start Here category and change that amount from $300 to $200 and be on track, or they could just change it right here as well. Now, let's move on to the next section. So the same goes for their savings category. They anticipated, for example, saving $150 for their vacation. So far, they've already saved $100. They can now go back to their bank app and transfer an additional $50 to make sure that they're saving enough money for that vacation they plan on taking. Same goes for all these other transactions. The emergency fund, they wanted to save $200. So far, they saved $300. So this gives them a snapshot of what they estimated to save and what they actually saved. Now let's move on to the next section. So over here in the expense category, we could see exactly what Mary and Michael think they were going to spend in the estimated section and what they actually spent in the actual section. This way they can keep their eye on everything. For example, for groceries, they wanted to spend $800, but in reality, they have spent $500 so far. This is only week 1 in their budget, and they've already spent $500 on groceries. Now is the time for them to either slow it down or find ways to maybe increase their grocery budget. So let me show you another thing that's very important. Over in the transaction tracker, there's a notes section. Since Mary is the one doing the budget, she can put a note in here telling Michael that he should check the budget and make sure that they are spending right. Since this is a budget sheet, if she types @ and puts in his email, it is going to automatically alert him and let him come in and see what is going on. So let's go ahead and put a note here for Michael. Okay, so now we're going to move on to another tab that is very important, which is the annual dashboard tab. So over on the annual dashboard tab, this just lets Mary and Michael see their budget in a snapshot. For example, over here, it shows them the months, the total income, the total expenses. That way they can have a snapshot of how much they made in the month of January, for example, and how much they've spent so far. This gives them a snapshot, and so they can keep their eye on what they're spending. Once they get to the month of December, they can see how much they made for the entire year, as well as how much they spent for the entire year as well. And then in this section, they have all their categories here. They don't have to change this because it is color coded and has built-in formulas already. But over here in this section, so as you can see, some amounts are green and some amounts are not. The amounts that are green means that they haven't hit their budget for that yet. For example, the car loan amount they wanted to spend was $250. So far, they've only spent $150, and that's why it's green. For this transaction right here, they anticipated for student loans that they would spend $102. So far, they've spent $200. This is why this one is colored red. So they could go in and make those changes by increasing the amount of money that they put in their start here column to make sure that this is calculating correctly. So over here at the top, it gives them their income to debt ratio. That way they can see how much of their income is going straight to debt. And then over all the way to the right, it gives them the total amount of money they've been spending for the entire year. So let's go ahead and move on to the next tab, which is the savings planner. So this is last but definitely not least in this budget template. So let's say, for example, Mary and Michael plan on buying her a car January of 2026, and now we are in January of 2025. That gives them a year to plan to buy her that car. So let's go ahead and put that in. Let's say, for example, the car is going to cost Mary $10,000. So, based on the information that we've entered in, which is that Mary wants to buy a car and she plans to use a year to do so, and she wants to buy a $10,000 car, based on this information, on a weekly basis, she needs to put away $179 to be able to meet her goal. So now, if she thinks that going in every week to transfer $179 is too much for her, she can either automate that, but if she wants it to match her pay schedule, she can go in here and change this to a bi-weekly basis. And then this tells her that she needs to put away $357 on a bi-weekly basis to meet her $10,000 goal within a year. If she wants to do it on a monthly basis, all she has to do is change this to monthly, and it tells her that on a monthly basis, she needs to be saving $785 every single month to reach her goal within a year. If she thinks that saving that amount of money is too much based on the income that they're making right now, she can change the amount or change the date. So let's say that she thinks this is too much for her. She can change this to 2027 and then it will automatically adjust. Let's go ahead and do that. So now we've changed it to 2027, and this tells Mary that she needs to be putting aside $408 every single month to reach her goal within 2 years. So this is a great planner that you could use to track how much you want to save. It will tell you how much you need to put aside based on the information that you enter in the date as well as the amount of money needed. So this system works because it is simple and holistic. Mary and Michael are not just tracking their bills, they're tracking their income, their debt, their savings, and their expenses all in one place. And when they zoom out with the annual dashboard, they are not just surviving month to month, they're building a financial roadmap for the entire year. And if you love the annual dashboard as I do, then go ahead and drop a comment and let me know how serious you are about seeing your entire year clearly. If this helped, then hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more money tips that are so fun to watch. And until next time, budget smart and spend with purpose, and make sure to always leave room in your budget for tacos. And as usual, the best time to invest in yourself was yesterday. The second best time is now. You got this.